live and in studio on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, your real estate and financial experts, making sure you win in every market. Your financial partners, Don and Gino.
Winning. You haven't heard that in a while, I know, but you'll hear it every week on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show, because we help you win every week, because we have aligned ourselves with some very talented professionals. We're talking the best in Santa Clarita. And in fact, we're putting together a group called the Professional Resource Group, which is the best of the best. These are people you can trust that's accountable. They're not just us and not just our radio show every week. That's right, every Thursday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. right here on AM 1220 KHTS, but also to your community. These are great individuals that give back to you, because you give to us, and we appreciate every bit. I know Gino and I at Cherry Creek Mortgage love that you support us at Cherry Creek Mortgage. Give us the opportunity to change your lives by giving you sound advice regarding your mortgage, whether it's refinancing, purchasing a bigger home, purchasing your first home, purchasing an investment property, whatever it is. We can assure you that you're going to get sound advice that we can sleep on at night, and you can as well. And I know Lou Esbin, who's in the house with us today, our infamous debt doctor. But we're talking about a new topic today because it's important. Remember, we're trying to educate you every single week. We have to bring new topics. So we just talked about real estate up and down every single day. It doesn't really give you a lot of value. It gives you an idea of what's going on, but it doesn't give you increased value to improve your lives. And that's what we do every week. And Lou shares on a regular basis. He is our expert contributor in the fields of bankruptcy, but also in so many other areas, business law. And now today we're talking about a topic that we've never brought up before, and now I'm realizing that it's an integral part of law right now, more than ever, and it's an integral part of your lives. And Lou just went, I mean, he's no stranger to this. He's actually been part of this 1,000 times, but still went to Washington, D.C. for an entire week to get trained better on being a expert at mediation.
Well, immediate. There's a program out of Pepperdine University School of Law called the Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution, and the Strauss Institute is recognized as one of the top programs in the country. And I was fortunate enough to be allowed to attend a program in Washington, D.C. for a week with 24 of some of the brightest people I've ever been in a room with, and we had 3 instructors and people from all over the country, in Japan, the Bahamas, and Canada.
Wow.
Attended this program. And it was you had people like myself with 20 more years of experience sitting in a classroom from 8:30 to 5:30 from Monday through Saturday. And I got to tell you something, most of us haven't sat in a classroom for about 20 years. And it was an unbelievably enriching experience that I came out of with a better understanding of how it is that I understand how to settle a case, and why it is that I'm able to go into a situation and resolve disputes and get things done. And I was given the formal tools to do that. Even though I've had the ability to do it all these years, it was really good to get
your knowledge as an attorney.
As an attorney. Well, and I think there are people who either know how to resolve a conflict or they know how to create a conflict.
Oh, we know all of them.
Yeah.
We know both.
And so
we don't let them work at, the ones that know how to create them don't work at Cherry Creek, I can assure you that.
And one of the most important things that came out of this is that on a daily basis, we're all called upon to resolve disputes. You stop at a stop sign, let's say 4 cars stop at a stop sign at the same time. You have to decide who goes forward. Now, we're not
going to call you to help us resolve that.
Only if you all go at the same time.
Yeah, that will be called.
But think about it. You have to kind of resolve a dispute and work through it.
Well, we were talking about it at the break, and Gino was bringing it up. That it's interesting how we do deal with this all day long, whether it's with your coworkers, whether it's with your friends, whether it's with your children.
Right.
You are trying to resolve disputes on a regular basis.
Yeah,
it's usually between my wife and Sophia, 99% of the time.
Well, I know I think my daughter's listening to the show, so I'm going to say that I've never had any problems with my daughter.
I'm waiting for the text that says, my dad doesn't always lie.
So
In fact, I'd like you guys to join us in the chat room so you can see the conversation with Jackie. She's in the chat room communicating with us.
So just go to donandgino.com, donandgino.com. Click on the Listen and Chat Live button and just sign up for the chat room through your Facebook.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
And she's close to your home office there in Cherry Creek, Colorado.
That's right,
Yeah.
right. How cool.
So with mediation, a lot of people confuse mediation with arbitration. Okay, many contracts today have arbitration clauses, and that arises out of a uniform set of laws that were passed that encourage arbitration or alternative dispute resolution to litigation because the courts are overcrowded. And so many contracts have arbitration provisions, and those really shift the burden away from the courts and require the parties to engage a third party who kind of acts as a judge and to resolve the dispute. And in arbitration, it could be binding, which means that, well, however that person may decide the dispute, that's the decision, and you have to live with it. And very often in arbitration, you don't have the protections of juries and a lot of things that you have in litigation. So there's a movement away from arbitration and towards mediation, which is a negotiated settlement.
So I think that's a great point. I think it's really important because we've all signed hundreds of these clauses. Every time you go to a doctor's office, you're signing one of these arbitration
That's
clauses. I've seen them 100 times. Every time you have a surgery, anytime you're going to get any procedure, doctors are the number one that I see that have arbitration clauses.
Sure.
And if they're binding, it really does protect. You do lose some of your rights when you sign that document, and you should be very careful. And I'm not saying every time you walk into the doctor's office, go see Lou and have him read your arbitration clause, but be aware of it. Don't sign blindly.
Right, and then there's a lot of case law that has evolved over the enforceability of these arbitration clauses and when they're enforceable and when they're not enforceable. But as I was saying, there's really a movement afoot to move away from those arbitration provisions. So, for example, when I document deals for my clients, I have what I call a waterfall. So if there's a dispute, one party has to identify the dispute, notify the other party in writing, 30-day cooling off period, try to resolve it. If you can't resolve it, you waterfall into a mediation program. If you can't settle it in mediation, then it goes into an arbitration setting so that the parties at least have 3 different methodologies to settle their dispute.
What I love about that is you said 2 or 3 things that are critical there. One is the cooling off period.
Right.
Because, we were talking emotions. That's what we were talking about. So your job as a professional mediator is to remove the emotion from the situation so that you can resolve the dispute. Because most of the time that disputes can't be resolved, it's because of the emotional aspect. Am I right?
Just like
Yes.
at home.
Yes. and yet as a mediator, you have to recognize that there are emotions involved, there are cultural differences, and you need to be able to recognize those factors and decide how those factors play into the resolution of the dispute.
All right, and if you just tuned in, we're speaking with Mr. Lou Esbin of Esbin Law, our one and only debt doctor, and we're speaking on mediation and how important it is to you today.
Yes.
And it's growing. I mean, this is something you said, arbitration is moving to mediation, and we're kind of trying to narrow down what mediation is, because a lot of times people won't even think about going to maybe a third party
Right.
to discuss things such as a dispute with their children. It could be regarding their college. It could be regarding of course, your spouse.
That's right.
Your neighbors, co-workers, and so forth. There's so many examples of maybe a third party can, as Gino, astutely mentioned, eliminate or decrease the emotions, and therefore go based on facts and try to come up with a
Sure.
resolution.
Sure, and the role of a mediator, such as myself, someone will come to me because there may be a certain fact patterns or certain issues of law, and they want me to evaluate their case, one side or the other. And so part of the mediation process is an evaluative process to try to let the parties know, hey, do you have something good here? Don't you have something good here? And give them the comments of a disinterested third party. And once you kind of are able to kind of get through and let people know where the strengths and weaknesses are, you begin to diffuse the situation. And you begin to try to tone down the emotions that are often involved. And you're right, there are all kinds of situations where a third-party mediator may be brought into play. Almost every federal court there's a mediation program. Unfortunately, due to cutbacks, the Superior Court in Los Angeles eliminated their mediation program. Just at a time when they should be increasing the mediation program. Family law matters often involve a mediator to resolve family law disputes. There are disputes between buyers and sellers in real estate transactions.
Oh, that's a good point.
Between a seller and an agent. There's all different situations where a third party comes into play because people don't agree.
Okay, well, we're gonna touch a little bit more on how mediation could save you thousands in court as well as maybe eliminating those emotions that become troublesome in a dispute. And we're going to touch a little bit more deeply on it with Lou Esbin with Esbin Law in just a few minutes.